Hello, Petal. How you doing? How's your week been? How are things? I think we're going to have a little bit of a treat today because I've had a really busy week. No two ways about it. We knew this was going to happen. Probably will happen for the next couple of weeks. But still, we are still doing our very best to bring this wonderful, wonderful book to you. But looking at it, I was kind of like really worried because obviously chapter 19 is going to be really hefty. But likely it goes the other way. That being that chapter 10, 11 and 12 are actually quite short. Well, so is 13. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to definitely do 2 chapters today. And then I'm hopefully going to do the 3rd. And then we can either have them all in one day. Or I can actually, no, what I'll do is I will post them all up today. And then if you want to listen to them day by day by day, it's cool. If you want to listen to them all in one go, that is also cool. And then we'll say I'll come back again in a few days' time and we'll do the other chapters. Yeah, I think that sounds good. That sounds awesome because at least then I can get you something that's there. And while I've got a really hectic time, then we've got something for you as well. So aside from that, how have you been? How are you doing? How are things? Let me know how it's going in the comments as usual. And we know we have a little bit of banter in there and it's all lovely and I do really appreciate it. My goodness, these little bits of banter are going on a bit longer than usual these days. I can't remember what they're called. What is it that Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and all that sort of thing do before they do the show? Monologue, that's it. The monologues are getting quite extensive. But anyway, I did try and keep them below 2 minutes. And that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to crack on with chapter 10 of Faust Among Equals by our beloved Mr. Thomas of Holt. George frowned. This, he couldn't help feeling, was a trifle disturbing. Your dinner, the kidnapped Nort had said, is in the fridge. Upon inspection, however, the fridge turned out to contain nothing but vegetables. One of the things that he'd always liked about Helen was that, unlike 95% of the rest of her sex, she didn't confuse food with scenery. Had she chosen this moment of all moments to go to the bad? Or had she simply written fridge when she meant freezer? The latter hypothesis proved to be correct, since the freezer turned out to contain 2 frozen pizzas and a microwave lasagna. He decided on the lasagna, turned it out of its foil container onto a plate, and smiled at it. Then he frowned at it, to give the melted cheese on top of the distinctive browned under the grill look. Callous? Insensitive? Just like a man? These are hard thoughts and not really applicable. It's true that there have been heroes and men of action who have gone off herring to rescue damsels on an empty stomach, but what the epics don't tell you is that their subsequent performance was considerably hampered by indigestion and heartburn. Your class hero knows this. Hercules, for example, had a double cheeseburger with fries, coleslaw and an ambrosia shake before snatching Alcestis out of the arms of the King of Death, and Sir Lancelot always insisted on a round of cucumber sandwiches with the crusts cut off before so much as looking at a dragon. Logic, said George to himself. A spot of logic is called for here. Now, who would want to kidnap Helen of Troy? Well, yes, that's a pretty dumb question, so let's rephrase it. Apart from every single solitary red-blooded male in the world, who would want to kidnap Helen of Troy? Easy. Lundqvist. By way of confirmation of this working hypothesis, there was the tape in the video camera which some untidy person had left lying about by the silage clamp right next to the corpse. George wound back the tape and sat for a few minutes, his mind turning over like Mozart in his grave during a Jonathan Miller production of Così fan tutti. Then he suddenly scowled and snapped his fingers. 2 seagulls hopped down and perched on the top of the telly, trying to eat the aluminum trim. "Hey," George said, "this isn't on, you know." "Quack?" "Kidnapping people," George explained. "My compliments to Mr. Lundqvist, and ask him if there's any particular order he wants his bones broken in." "Quack!" "No." The seagulls flapped their wings and lifted out of the window. George played the video through once more. Then he made a phone call.
This is a recorded spirit message. Kindly leave your name and a medium through whom you can be contacted, and I will get back to you as soon as you can.
He shrugged and tried a different number. When it answered, his side of the conversation went like this.
Hello. Yes, could I have Mr. Bosch, please? Extension 3092. Yes, thanks. I'll hold.
The hold facility on the switchboard played you the disarray, as interpreted by a computer synthesizer. Eventually...
Bosch here? Ronnie, said George. How's tricks? The project coming together at last? Bloody hell, George!
The voice changed in pitch, though not in volume, until it became a rather heavy, conspiratorial hiss.
You really have got to stop calling me work like this. You have no idea how embarrassing.
Yes, sorry. How's the Garden of Earthly Delights coming along, by the way? Bosch sighed.
Don't ask, he said. Even if we make it out of foam rubber instead of expanded polystyrene, the 90-foot-high cracked eggshell just isn't going to stay up there. I just know it. And the sprinkler system's completely up a tree. I've got 76,000 purple tubular carnivorous plants out there dying of dehydration, but do they listen?
George tutted sympathetically.
Par for the course, it sounds to me. Look, can you do me a quick favour?
Bosch growled darkly.
Depends, he said. I mean, there's favours and favours. I think opening wormholes in the fabric of virtual reality for you to hide your rope ladder in probably puts us all square, don't you?
George laughed cheerfully.
Call those wormholes, Ron, he said. I have been better off stashing the gear under the bed, only I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I would also remind you of that time back at Wittenberg when I let you borrow my red-slashed fustian doublet 3 weeks running when you were chasing after that barmaid with the big... All right,
Bosch cut him short.
I was younger then. Damn it, I was alive then. What do you want this time? Just a note of where Lundqvist is right now. That's all. For now, Ron.
Meanwhile, Lundqvist was negotiating with 2 seagulls.
We got the revenue off your back, like you said, Larry croaked. Although we couldn't do anything about your 1896 expenses claim. I mean, he added quickly, as Lundqvist's eyes smouldered, putting 5,000 cubic feet of cyanide gas down as entertaining potential clients is going a bit too far. You've got to...
The hell with you, Lundqvist snapped. Those particular clients were pretty peculiar people. So what? You've got to be weird to need a temporal security consultant in the first place.
Okay, said Mike, but do you really expect the tax guys to believe you? Got through to 37,000 throwing knives in one fiscal quarter. Don't you ever reuse them?
A shrewd thrust from a wingtip suggested to him that this was a subject best left alone. He cleared his throat, ruffled his feathers with his beak, and changed tack.
Anyway, he said, they've unfrozen your bank accounts and the bailiffs have released your goods. We've kept outside of the bargain.
Good, Lundqvist replied icily. Now we can start talking.
The seagulls exchanged glances.
I thought we'd been...
Preliminaries, Lundqvist said. Now we get to the good stuff. That is, unless your man wants to play it the hard way, because if he does, the only thing the girl's gonna be launching from now on is oil rigs.
Larry sighed.
Let's hear it then, he said.
Fine by me, Lundqvist said. I want George. I want him here and no tricks. You got that?
Quack!
Right. Now piss off.
The seagulls lifted their wings and flapped noisily out through the open window. Lundqvist grinned and drew the shutters. Actually, said a voice from the corner of the room, would you mind awfully much leaving the window? It's a bit stuffy in here.
Lundqvist snarled.
Please?
Sure. You want me to leave the window? You think I was born yesterday?
Not really, Helen said, smiling. If you had been, you'd be all pink
and small and covered in fluffy down, and he'd need feeding all the time. Talking of which, I thought we'd have dinner around 7ish.
Lundqvist scowled. We'll eat when I say so, he said. If I say so. You got...
Helen ignored him. With a dainty flick of her slim wrists, she wriggled free of the handcuffs and drew a liberated finger along the top of the table next to where she was tied up. It left a furrow in the dust. She didn't say anything, but she tooted. "I'll need some ingredients," she went on. 4 pounds of potatoes, a large cabbage, 2 pounds of parsnips.
We'll have corned beef and like it,
Lundqvist grunted. I doubt that, replied Helen. Also, some desiccated coconut, some ginger, sunflower oil, it's better for you, more polyunsaturates, and a pound of self-raising flour. You'll just have time to pop out before the shop shuts. Lundqvist turned around slowly. Helen had slipped free of all of her bonds by now. She was standing up and tying a pinny around her waist. There was a horrible look in her eye, and for a moment Lundqvist's heart stopped. Far back, in the left luggage room of one of the most twisted psyches in the history of creation, a woman's voice was calling, shrill, hard, cruel.
"Kurt!" it shrieked. "You come here this instant! You hear me? You want that? I tell your father!"
But, Mum...
Kurt Lundqvist, you tidy your room, you polish your shoes, you do your homework, you practice the violin for half an hour like Miss Horowitz told you. Then maybe you can go play with your impaling sticks.
Yes, Mum.
The flashback faded, as swift and terrible as it had come, leaving Lundqvist standing with his mouth open.
You get back in the corner, he said, or I'll...
Nonsense, replied Helen briskly. From somewhere, God only knew where, she'd produced a feather duster and a can of furniture polish. Off you go. Don't forget the sunflower oil. Lundqvist struggled to remember. He was Kurt Lundqvist, the biggest, meanest, most savage,
untidiest, scruffiest kid on the whole block. No, the most savage.
Sure, he said weakly. I go out, and as soon as my back's turned, you're out of here, and...
Helen smiled. Don't be silly, she said. First, I'm going to give this place a really good clean. Then we'll be able to see what colour the curtains are. She fluttered her eyelashes cruelly. I mean, she said, if we've got to be cooped up in this smelly old place, we might as well make it as comfortable as possible. Lessons learned the hard way. Number 1. Don't kidnap Helen of Troy. The wooden horse was basically a face-saving exercise, something to make it all look slightly more convincing to the outside world. Within 3 months of Helen's arrival in Troy after her abduction by Prince Paris, there wasn't a square inch of original carpeting in the whole city. The entire workforce had been transferred from sword tempering and arrow sharpening to curtain making. And King Priam had mortgaged his empire and taken out a personal loan from the first Archaean bank to pay for new 3-piece suites in every single room in his gigantic palace. It wasn't Achilles or the wrath of the gods or the curse of Dardanus that did for Troy of the 100 gates. It was the sheer bloody havoc wrought by the Trojan economy by a determined homemaker with a Liberty catalogue and a gold Amex card. The reason that the siege of Troy took so long was simple. Once King Menelaus had got used to being able to wipe his hands on the towels and smoke in the living room again, it took the concentrated moral pressure of 3 continents 10 years to persuade him to take her back. I love the Helen of Troy character in these books. She's an absolute freaking legend. She's so funny. She really is. It's kind of like, I'm going to decorate everything or I'm going to ransack the entire continents and leave them as dust. Yes, that's what I shall do today. So, I'm sure you won't mind me changing the curtains, because otherwise I'll set fire to the sky. Yes, thought so. Okay then, well done. The inspiration for the Helen of Troy character that I'm doing is Miranda Richardson in Blackadder, when she plays Queen Elizabeth. I can't quite get the whole sort of shrill timbre, but it's
and Nanny, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to rule the world, and I'm going to run the country, and if you don't like it, I'm going to chop your head off.
You see, that sort of thing. So that's kind of Helen's a gentler version of that. So yeah,
Just thought you might like to like the thought process back there, because this is a really short chapter. So I'm just trying to fill out the time a little bit so you've got something worthwhile. Definitely going to do a second one though today, because that'd be a good idea. So this is the first one for the day. We're going to do another one, just so you got something extra to listen to, and I don't feel guilty about taking a couple of days off here and there, you know. I know nobody would ever begrudge me a couple of days off, especially with everything that's going on right now, but you know, I like to just keep it going, keep it regular, keep it flowing, you know. So please let me know how you're doing. As ever, please hit that notifications bell. It really helps the channel no end. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd be really grateful if you would. If you don't want to, it's cool. I get it, it's no problem. But of course, if you can like the chapter if you enjoyed it, and I think there's other bits and bobs you can do. If you want to like, share, subscribe, ding, 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 and especially more than anything, if you want to have a little bit banter in the comment section, please do so. Big love, big hugs and kisses, and you're not getting a tune yet because I'm going to do it on the next one.